welcome to the Well Child Show.
Wow, it's another day. In the spirit of International Women's Day, we welcome you to this special edition of the Well Child Show. My name is Claire Henshaw, and I am being joined by your regular host, Kemak. Hi, Kemak.
Hello, Claire. It's a beautiful day to be alive. Happy International Women's Day.
Yay, happy International Women's Day to all of you, especially our wonderful women and young girls out there.
Right.
I'm sure our viewers are wondering, what is it with this new look, Kemak?
Okay, well, Claire, this is my own way of celebrating and appreciating the women and our mothers who give so much to ensure that we have, the best of life. So for the duration of the month of March, I'm going to be wearing my do-rag in honor of the Nigerian woman and the Nigerian mother.
That's great, Kemak. I know you're quite passionate about women and young girls, and so this is really remarkable. So perhaps we should expect a lot of young men, dressing this way.
that just might be some good way to, honor the mothers and the women.
Okay, so we'll be right back. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll join you, and we'll continue the show after this break. So don't go away.
What defines a generation?
Climate justice! Right now!
Is it just about the year you were born? Or is there something more? We may have lived through different decades, different circumstances, different countries, but we all share in the global, everyday push for our rights, for justice, for a world that is equal. Perhaps what defines our generation isn't our age or our background, but the line in the sand that we have drawn. We take to the streets to speak out against discrimination, and we work tirelessly behind the scenes. We stand up for peace.
We are fed up with the war
and economic justice. We start with a statement and watch it become a movement. We have come a long way, but the fight isn't over, and our rights are still under assault. It is time to take action. Let us be the wake-up call the world needs.
The eyes of all future generations are upon you.
Be the first, the youngest, the best, and then make sure no one is left behind. When someone tries to silence you, raise up your voice.
Let us wage a global struggle.
Change everything, or change just one thing. As long as you do something, whether you're new to changing the world or have been in the fight for a long time.
Each knows exactly why we are here.
We are all together, united, for gender equality. And the future we create for women and girls is up to all of us.
You're welcome back. It's the Well Child Show, brought to you by Global Child Health and Safety Initiative. And of course, we're both here in the studio, Claire, to do justice to the topic of, gender equality.
Absolutely.
And there is a lot of, would I say, umbrage by people who, I might add, are not adequately informed about the tenets or what exactly gender equality means. And I was shocked to my bones that this morning the Senate actually voted to repeal, the call for gender equality included in the Constitution. And that makes me wonder. We're not trying to look at the political side of things, but what makes me wonder is, first of all, the vision of the founding fathers of Nigeria. The first clause or the first sentence talks about building a just, equal and egalitarian society where every citizen has the rights to express themselves and the rights to equal opportunity. So I think, and one may ask, what has gender equality got to do with, child care or child wellness? But the truth is, mothers are the ones, for the most part, who bring up children. And the mother is the greatest influence on the child, whether it's a boy child or the girl child. So I think we owe it as a responsibility to our generation and the future generation of men, that's the boys of today, to succinctly explain what gender equality actually means. And I know this is a huge area of, where you operate as a social sector practitioner. So maybe you should just enlighten us a little bit on what gender equality means. Honestly, there seems to be a whole lot of misconception about gender equality. People often hear the word gender equality and they're offended. Men and women alike. You find some women say, oh, we can't be equal, nobody is equal. No, but that's not what we're talking about. Gender equality is basically the ease of access to resources and opportunities. So it doesn't matter whether you're a boy or a girl. If you want a pen, for example, it shouldn't matter, whether what your gender says about you. If you need a pen, it means that you can easily access this pen simply because it is supposed to be simple. But don't tell me that, oh, you can't access this pen because you're a girl, or you can't access this pen because it's pink. I think we should start breaking the concepts about gender equality across all platforms, across all areas, so especially in schools, because young boys will eventually grow, and stories like what we have had at the National Assembly, for example, will influence the way that they think. The problem again is, what kind of people are we putting in the National Assembly to represent us? Claire, that's a whole other story for another day.
We need progressives
who
are thinking towards the direction of empowering the African continent. And you find that Africa is totally missing out on this whole gender equality, on so much. So I have a data around this. The World Economic Forum estimates that Sub-Saharan Africa will achieve gender parity in 79 years.
Oh my word.
And we cannot afford to wait that long.
And at that point, the world has already moved 79 years ahead.
And then we are still lagging behind in Africa. Some of the things that we worry about around gender equality sometimes borders on, women. A lot of people worry, men particularly worry, that when women have this opportunity to be as equal as they are, then they lose respect. They lose the authority that they're supposed to ordinarily.
The leadership role that they occupy in society. But that's not the point.
But that's not the point.
No, I remember sending in a comment to a particular program today, and I feel I should read that. And I said, I was driving down Awolowo Road last week. And really, I was driving and just reminiscing, looking at the environment, looking at the squalor, the poverty, the lack of direction. Everywhere is almost in chaos. And it dawned on me, from pre-independence, the major challenge that this country has had is leadership.
Absolutely.
Leadership is the major problem that we have. And to a large extent, our mothers are the bastion of the future. Why do we say this? Because now, take myself for example, the concepts and the ideas I have about life, the way, the ingrained, almost spiritual locus that I have that seems to respect and regard women and see them as equal human beings deserving of every respect and every right that they should have access to a large extent, is dependent on the mother who raised me. So in that sense, we can't but empower our mothers. We can't but empower the woman. We can't but empower the girl child. Because I keep saying this, an empowered woman would raise a generation of empowered people. It's as simple as that. And speaking about access and equal opportunity, gender should play no role. Because at the end of the day, a human being is a human being.
First,
there are specific, rules and procedures that, one has to go through to achieve or attain certain things in life. I don't see reason why gender should be an issue. And I had the privilege to speak, last week Sunday at an event on International Women's Day. And I told a story. And that story, to a large extent, changed my life. At the time in our lives, I think I was in second year and my sister we were both at the university. And then she had just had a baby. And she was, you know, working at putting herself back together, you know, continuing her education. And then that was the point she decided, okay, she was going to build a career for herself in interior design and home styling. And then this evening she comes home all excited. She had spoken to someone who was already in the business. And she was sharing with me and my elder brother all the plans she had for the future and what she hoped to achieve. And true to, you know, reality, we were excited for her, happy, you know, that she was going to move forward. But something strange happened. As she kept talking about her dreams, talking about her goals, my elder brother and I said something to her. You know, you really need to slow it down. You need to take it easy. Don't be too invested in what you're trying to do because you have a baby. And she picked offense at that statement. And she said, that I have a baby is not going to slow me down. It will not make me reduce my expectation for myself in life. And the truth of it, Claire, is this. One may say, oh yes, what we said to her is right advice, her child should be priority. But if the tables were turned,
would you say
and
that
it was
to a man
that had the baby,
would you say that to him?
Or you would encourage the man to go out there and hustle.
Achieve all his goals. And you see, this is not too far-fetched. I recall when I completed secondary school, I was about 17 or getting to 17 years old, and there was this rush from younger men, older men to ask for my hand in marriage.
Right.
But imagine if my mother was not passionate about education, because my mother insisted that until you complete your university and you start earning an income, forget about marriage. So this has been the consistent, you know, thing that I have heard over and over again, and that is why I am the woman that I am today. Thanks to my mother. My father played a very important role. He paid our school fees, but you see, the woman that I am today is as a result of the strong woman that raised me and my siblings. My father was not always in the picture because he had to go and hustle,
travel around. Yes.
Fortunately for me, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, but at some point she started running businesses. There were times when my father could not meet up. But that small business that my mom was running ensured that we had food on our table sometimes. And this is the situation for millions of women. So we run a lot of programs for women under my platform, Girls Inspired. And you find that more often than not, these women from these low-income communities, from these low-income backgrounds, they are basically the engine that runs the home.
That's right.
Many of them are widows. Imagine if they were not empowered.
I know, right?
And I know of a woman earning, as at the time that I started working with her around 2012, her income was just 18,000 naira. She's a widow and she had 3 children. But you see, this woman, despite her situation, she said to me, Miss Claire, whatever it takes, I will train my children. She was always running into debt until she met me. We cannot overemphasize the value that women...
The power, the purpose, and the potential.
They bring so much to the table. If we quickly look at our country, Nigeria, you find out that we still have the absolute highest number of child bride. Absolute highest number of young girls that are yet to get primary education. They are particularly based in the north. But imagine a world where these young children are raised by educated women, that have gone, because this cycle of intergenerational poverty will keep happening over and over again, and until we start to have progressive minds that are taking action and speaking up about these issues, and also empowering women with not just words, but the skills, the knowledge, and the awareness on how to change this narrative, will keep remaining in the quagmire that we are. So UNDP estimates that it will take Africa, sub-Saharan Africa as a whole, loses up to about $95 billion as a result of inequality.
There you go.
We are losing out, and the world is moving so fast, and here we are still talking about issues that are irrelevant.
Besides, humanity existing will not be, it won't flourish. You know, the robustness of the life experience that we should have as human beings cannot be fully played out when half of the population is denied the ability to be all they can be and bring all they can bring to the table. And I'm happy you talked about education. The truth is, no educated woman would live to see her children uneducated.
Absolutely.
But I have seen cases of men who were thoroughly educated to the hilt, but their children are not educated.
Yes, I have.
That tells you the power.
It will shock you. One of my professors back then, one of the things that he said to me that left me, my mouth was left agape, was the fact that He said he doesn't want to marry a woman that is educated.
Oh my word.
He said he wants them to be submissive. So by being able to control them, you know, they cannot spread their wings. And I wonder, will such a man wish that for his daughters?
Oh my God.
So the mindset needs to shift.
It does.
Our leaders need to start paying attention and not just lip service to these issues. There are so many young girls, especially in northern Nigeria, where we also try to do a little bit of work because of insecurity and all of that. But many of these young girls, that at least the ones that I have seen that have been brought from the north to Lagos State, for example, because of this insurgency issue, they are on the streets. So even though they have moved from where they are,
it's still the same.
It is still the same circle.
Driving home along the Lekki corridor, of course you know it's the same area. You see the number of children begging, young girls who are exposed. No educated woman would allow a child.
That's true.
And you know, speaking about, and of course in this era, there's the coronavirus, and there's so much, you know, hoopla around this infection. Education is key. You see, a home that has a mother who is empowered and who is educated stands a greater chance in every sphere of life. Protection of the children, health and safety, mental wellness, educational goals and aspirations in every way. We can't overstretch the need for women to be empowered. And how will this happen? You know, we talk a lot about the empowerment of the woman and the girl child. In some way, the men have a major role to play.
True.
In some way, both in policy formulation, from the angle of governance, civil society, in the home, in the school. Everyone needs to join hands. You know, in recent times, I've been particularly obsessed with researching the life of the late First Lady Mariam Babangida.
Yeah, you said
and
that.
her Better Life program that she ran in the 80s and in the 90s. I saw a woman who is as detailed and as intelligent as they come in the programs that she ran. As a matter of fact, UNICEF had to buy into the templates of her program in reaching the most grassroots of Nigerian women. So, I mean, really, we lose, not just in terms of finance,
in every ramification.
But in every ramification when we fail to empower the woman, or at least give the chance that every human being deserves to express her franchise.
What is most heartbreaking for me is that time and time again, we have had several discussions like this. Time and time again, we have sat with people that are supposed to be doing the right thing and they are not doing the right thing. So I think at this point in time, we shouldn't leave the decision making in the hands of our leaders alone.
Right.
Everybody needs to start to do something in their own little corners.
I absolutely
Programs like this that will educate and empower young children, both in schools, at home, need to be, you know, supported.
Right.
To ensure that even the most remote communities can have access to information like this.
Right.
For me, I see a situation whereby, for example, in the north, if it takes schools to start to put signages of women that have left their communities, you know, face the same situation as them, and they're now doing great things.
Broken out from that.
Broken out from that, they begin to, you know, have this picture of possibilities, the mindset.
In the minds of the young
And
girls.
I know culture plays a lot of role, and our traditional rulers, for example, especially the male traditional rulers, because we hardly have so many female traditional rulers.
It's just a dime.
Exactly. So we need to start to reach out to people that, you know, that are in this position of power, to start to break these barriers that would make it difficult for a woman to become. And sadly, we have we had one of them, that was the Emir of Kano, that was recently dethroned. I was very happy with his level of vocalness, but beyond talks and beyond rhetorics, what are the things we can do to start to change the narrative for the young girls across Nigeria and Africa? And how can we begin to ensure that our messages are re-amplified every corner of Nigeria and Africa, so that this whole situation where we have young girls being married off as children, where we have FGM happening to young children, and, you know, basically just doing things that do not support or favor the girl
education,
we need to start to break, and then we need to make this noise. We need to have men come on board.
On the forefront,
I feel that men should even be on the forefront. I don't know why a lot of Africans, especially the males, are shying away from this, but I think a lot of sensitization around the meaning.
Well, here is a generation of men who
exactly.
are coming
glad that we have men like you doing this. But I also believe that we need to also really push for the right policies, because without those policies, sometimes our hands are tied.
Right.
So there are some policies that you you look at and you say to yourself, but this thing doesn't make sense. So for example, the Child Rights Act that says that a child is recognized to be below 18 years. But there are also policies in the Nigerian aspects of the Nigerian constitution that also says that a child that is already married, and even though is a minor, will be considered as an adult. These are things that are conflicting and causing a whole lot of confusion within the ecosystem.
So much that we need to. But let's take a quick public service announcement from a group of young Nigerians who are engaged in philanthropy and social enterprise called the Social Millennials Network. Claire and I belong to this network, and it's a group of young Africans who lead non-profit organizations. We have a message for you on control of the spread of the coronavirus. Please stay with us. The Well Child Show continues after this break. You are welcome back. It's still the Well Child Show with Kemak and Claire, brought to you by Global Child Health and Safety Initiative. And of course, the topic today is in commemoration of International Women's Day. And of course, I have a do-rag on my head, like I explained to Claire, in, would I say, in honor of the Nigerian woman and the Nigerian mother. Of course, we know that the headscarf is a major dressing identification for African women. So for the month of March, I'm going to be wearing this do-rag in celebration of all that our women and mothers represent. Thank you for being a part of the show today. So yes, Claire, we're looking at the glory that gender equality is. And you know, particularly for our viewers who do not actually know the origin of gender equality, the issue is this: women make less on the dollar. That's of course as the global, you know, currency symbol. Women do the same work with their male counterparts and earn less than the men. So that's the origin of gender equality issues. Coming back to Africa, a girl child and her brother have to go to school. Now the girl child, no matter how well she's doing, when finances become crunched in the family, the girl's education is the one that is truncated. Young girls are on the major brunt of child marriage, female genital mutilation, all of these cultural practices that tend to hold back the girl child and hinder her from fulfilling all that she can. In what ways, practical ways, Claire, can we enlighten our viewers on how to close the gender gap and ensure gender equality? I think we have about 3 minutes to the end of the show.
There are 1,000,001 things we can say, but some of the key pointers are this. Empower women. And by empowering women, for example, we're looking at mothers who have to oftentimes support their children.
Right.
A mother that has resources to send her children to school, especially women in Africa that are oftentimes, you know, widows and don't have that support, financial support. Empower women to be able to make their own sources of income so that they can protect themselves from the eventualities of debt and all of that.
Right.
And when an empowered woman has children, those children will definitely get an education.
Definitely,
because sometimes it's easy to say get an education, but when you do not have the resources.
Well, and there's a background. There has to be a family background, a cushion that, you know, ensures your education is not even truncated.
Absolutely.
Right.
I've had cases where I've given scholarships to young girls and parents of the young girls would call and say, hello ma'am, would you please give the scholarship to my son?
Oh my
and I try to educate them.
And then when we have people like Dora Akunyili, Mariam Babangida that I mentioned, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, or B.S. Ekwesili, you know, women who, Claire, it's amazing to note that most of the people that have really shaped this country and brought developments are women.
Are women. Absolutely, Kemak. And I think, again, another important thing that we should be worried about is the high levels of, you know, violence against women. And I cannot overemphasize this. A lot of women are suffering in silence, and sometimes even in the open.
Right.
But there are no laws and policies that strongly protect them. We have those laws on paper, but how execution implementation is a challenge. And I am a champion when it comes to protecting women against violence. So we need to teach women that they are already whole and they don't need to be forced into marriages that will stifle them or, you know, end up taking their lives.
Right.
Empower women and empower and implement the policies that will ensure that women are taken care of. And so gender equality favors everyone, including the men. It saves men from this toxic masculinity. But people always assume that when it comes to gender, it's all about the girl child. Believe me, a lot of things have been done for the men, but we still need to continue to amplify them.
Right.
Because the generation of young men that are coming up, Generation X and all of that, they need to continue to hear all of this information so that we can sustain the trend even when we start to see credible results. Another important thing is to invest in young people, girls and boys alike, so that they can break the circle of intergenerational poverty.
That's right.
The youth. You see, the problem around issues of early marriages and all of that is infused in poverty. When parents, for example, are broke, the next thing that they think about is, okay, let's give out our daughter in marriage and make some income. These are the challenges young women face. There's so much to say, Kemak.
Just so much, but we've run out of time.
And this is the month of March. We can keep talking about this.
We will continue this next week. So thank you to our precious viewers for being a part of the show today. Of course, conversations continue across all our social media platforms, on Instagram, Facebook, and of course to watch this and other episodes of the Well Child Show, hook up with us on YouTube on Well Child TV. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and of course turn on your notification buttons so that once we post a new enlightening video, you will be made aware. Thank you to everyone across the world who keeps sending in emails, sending in phone calls and text messages, encouraging what we're doing. We will continue to serve you global best practices to enable child health and safety. And as we leave you today, we want you to always remember, child health and safety is everyone's business. See you next time on the Well Child Show. Goodbye and God bless you.